If you are looking for a house right now or thinking of selling one, you are very well aware that there is a market shift coming. You've been seeing the marketing for it pop up everywhere. Articles, some of them say the bottom's going to fall out of the market any day now. Here's how we're going to sell your house before it happens. Others say, no, this market's different than any that we've seen before, and the housing bubble's a myth. I've seen the word myth a lot with it, right? And it comes up on your Facebook feed or your Twitter page or whatever. And the bottom line is they're trying to get you to sell your house right now or buy a house right now. Anybody who claims to know the future is trying to sell you something. They're trying to sell me something, but nobody knows the future. The strategy instead is to be prepared, because usually the truth is going to end up being somewhere in the middle. But if we prepare for each extreme, one, that the market's going to stay the same, which, I don't think anybody really believes that anymore, not with the Federal Reserve changing the interest rates and the mortgage rates fluctuating and everything else that's going on economically. But say it does stay the same. Let's be prepared for that. Let's say it crashes. Now, just to be clear, crash doesn't necessarily mean that all real estate buying and selling is going to stop. It means that it flips from a seller's market to a buyer's market. Remember, the market is always good for somebody. The investors and the buyers have been waiting for their day. The buyer's day probably with the interest rates isn't going to come right away unless they have cash, but the investor's day where they can buy cash and buy things as prices start going, that's going to come quicker. But back on track. The market's always good for somebody. And a market crash often means just a market flip. If you are prepared for a market flip, you can take advantage of it, right? So instead of thinking like a seller of your residential property, trying to make the most for your residential property, it's time to start thinking about becoming more like an investor. Right now, at this moment, we are in a transitional period. We're not entirely sure where we're going to end up, but we do know right now that more people are listing their homes. They're trying to be prepared for whatever comes, and they know that, prices may go down, so now's probably the time to list, because chances are they're not going to go much higher at this point, not with everything going on. So we're starting to see more homes on the market. This is really good, and it's very optimistic for people that want to sell a home and buy a home. If you have cash and you can get the most for your house right now, it's a good opportunity to take that cash and look at the selection of homes that's out there right now. It's a bigger selection than there used to be and less competition. It's a good time to take all that money and go buy your next house before things change. But if you follow a lot of my articles, you'll see that I compare it a lot to a wave, right? And the wave goes up, but the person surfing the wave, when it comes down, they just know how to handle the wave so they don't get pulled under. Everything in marketing and media is trying to get you to panic and do something right away, or do nothing and be unprepared. We're in North Idaho. We know how to prep for things. This is nothing new. It's nothing that hasn't happened before, and it just takes an awareness and a preparedness. Builders and property investors right now, a lot of them, they always live by the adage, buy low, sell high, right? So if they have anything left to sell, any construction projects, most of them are finishing up the things that are on their plate so that as the market shifts, they can go back and start the cycle over of buying more land and being prepared for the next boom. Boom cycles tend to run every 10 to 15 years. They're not, like on a calendar or clock, but they're reasonably predictable. So you have these cycles coming up and investors bank on them and they kind of make plans 10 years in advance. So that is how we are helping our clients get through, right? This is how you can approach this and still have not a measure of control, because we're never in control, right? But if you know it's coming, you can be prepared and ride the wave and do so successfully and and do really well for your family.